Okay, good afternoon. It is Wednesday, May 22nd. Okay, so I just uploaded a video. Um, I just got wrongfully terminated from a job that I had been at for almost 3 years here. I've talked about the reason why I had a second job is because of the all the issues I had with my own company with these merchant processing companies, the credit card processing companies. I had so much fraud that it costed my company thousands and thousands of dollars. They allowed customers to make up stuff against my company and make up basic lies, saying it wasn't what I paid for, or it didn't look exactly what I ordered, and then the credit card company would take their side, and sometimes the customer would not even send the product back. Okay, so this is how corrupt especially Square. That's what happened with Square. Um, the customer completely made up a fraudulent reason as to what happened. I sent her exactly what she ordered, and then she just made something up, and then Square took her side, and she still has the product and got her money back. So that costed me several $1,000s. So that's why I've had to find other work on the side, and I am with a different. I mean, it took me a while to even find another merchant credit card processing company. I'm with another one now, but I don't know if they're going to be any different. But it's just I haven't been allowed to really be really fully promote my own business because of all these problems, and what there are. And believe me, I'm going to get into what I found out, that these customers that are frauding me are actually working for the CIA, and they're paid by the CIA to do this to me. And so the CIA is not supposed to be operating on U.S. soil. It's treason. So I have turned their names in to the military, and they are going to be sought after because they've committed so much fraud against me and my company. So, and this has happened to a friend of mine too, and we're tracking like two or three of us, and it also happened to Ken Rolla, who has this company called Fresh and Live. I think he lost like $5,000. These are they work for the deep state CIA. They're fake customers pretending to be real, and all they do is they're actually paid by the CIA, and so I'm going to get into some of these things, so, since I got fired now, I have more time to do these videos. So I'm going to explain some more things that are going on and that I'm finding out. And I am going to just file unemployment and, do the best that I can. And, so but basically, I'm going to explain what happened yesterday. Is that so I was hired. So I was just I have assembly and warehouse type background. Like in the military, I was a supply sergeant, and also I was admin, and then I have assembly and manufacturing experience too. So I was working in assembly there, and then they needed people in the warehouse, and then I ended up helping out in the warehouse and just kind of staying there, and that's where this latest thing happened. And so what happened is I don't know, there was like a new manager, fairly new manager, a Mexican lady, and she was fine at first, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, things have just been escalating in the country, and as I've been doing these videos, some people, even though of course you're not supposed to, what's going on in somebody's personal life, you shouldn't be able to retaliate against somebody, as long as they're doing a good job on their job. you know, what I do in my personal life, as long as I don't like push my agenda at work, which I never do. I don't talk politics at all at any kind of workplace. I don't push any agenda. I don't, you know, I usually just stayed to myself, you know, and I talk to some people some of the time on the breaks, and but I definitely never push like any kind of political agenda, you know, but sometimes we would just, you know, we would have discussions about certain things, people that I felt comfortable talking to, but you know, I certainly never was inappropriate about pushing any kind of political agenda. So, you know, but they, in several workplaces here, I guess they've seen my YouTube videos, and I've been, you know, retaliated against for those reasons, even though, you know, there was nothing that I did wrong in the workplace, you know. And these are all, who's doing this to me is all the Masons. And so I did this video with this guy, Vic, and the Masons. So if you have a family member that are Masons and you think they're good people, they're not. They're Satanists. The little G stands for Golgotha, and Golgotha is the mountain that Jesus was crucified on, and they stand for the opposite of that. Where he was crucified, Golgotha is underneath, and everything is the opposite of Christ. Okay, so they are the opposite of Christ, so they're Satanists. Okay, so and they come off as nice guys, and I didn't know for years, you know, that, but it started with me as a whistleblower back in Arizona, when I accidentally uncovered that crime there. All of the colonels involved in that embezzlement scandal were Masons, and so I've been on this Masonic blacklist now since 2012, where I got put on this list. It's called a targeted individual list, and I've been targeted by the Mason police, and Vic said over 95% of the police are Masons. So, and they, you know, but you know, some people, I'm not saying every single Mason is bad. Like some people join, you know, and they think it's just a brotherhood on the lower levels. Okay, but for the most part, you know, they're not good at all. They're involved in it's called a targeted individual program, and I'm going to explain more. Okay, so but basically what happened to me today is just I mean, literally, like, they discriminated against me, and you know, some Mexican people have the job that I should have, and the veteran is out of work. So you know, she was a Mexican manager, and just all of a sudden she started like posting our production numbers on the wall of you know, what the stuff we were doing, so the quantity of bins or whatever we were doing a day, you know, like and it didn't make any sense, because you know, like the one guy that had been there for years, like 20 some years, he said they've never done this, like what is the point in, you know, she started creating, like, so you could see everybody's number up there to see who was doing more than, you know, and it was just creating like a discord and like a harassing work environment. Like she was you know, targeting, like she was picking certain people out and putting, and then it became pretty obvious to several of us that she was favoring the Mexicans that were there. So there was, you know, a few Mexicans that were in the warehouse, and then there was, you know, some white and some black people, and so she was very obviously favoring the Mexicans, because all of their numbers were like way higher than the rest of ours, and it's like, I mean, it couldn't be any more obvious to us. I mean, it was just like laugh worthy how obvious it was. Okay, so I you know, I basically brought it up one time because I could tell that she was targeting me. You know, because my numbers are like way lower than some of these other people that I knew. There's no way that they were doing more than I was, and so I brought it up because I felt targeted, like I have been for years, and so I had to bring it up, and then I said, you know, this is clearly, we've all been noticing that these numbers don't seem to add up, and I don't even know why you're doing this, because it creates nothing but discord and this is supposed to be a harassment free company. It says right in the handbook, we have a harassment free policy, no harassment allowed, whether it's sexual or anything. It says it right in the company handbook. And okay, so I brought that up and I said, this to me feels like it's harassment because it feels like you're targeting people. So I brought that up in a meeting, and we don't, if you have a problem with one person's production, then you just go to that one person and deal with it. You don't put everybody's stuff on the board and create like this discord and everything. So anyway, that's how it started. And then when this went on for a few weeks, and then we all started keeping track on our own of our numbers of how much production we did per day. And then we definitely found, clearly had evidence that her numbers were not right, were not accurate. So then that made me even more mad because my numbers were completely different than hers. So then I definitely knew for sure something was going on. And if you're manipulating numbers, that's called fraud. You're committing fraud. I mean, she was just basically committing fraud, posting numbers that weren't accurate. And I mean, so that's how it started. And then when I'd called her on this, then she had it out for me and she started targeting me. And so she kept making up stuff, about my production. And I said, okay, well, I don't, I'm keeping track, like I said, and my numbers don't match yours. But even if you do have an issue, I am a disabled veteran and I can only do so much per day without hurting myself. And also, you can only go up a ladder so fast without hurting yourself, or walk so fast, because you have the other traffic going around, there. And so anyway, then the last conversation was okay. Then she tried. So she's been coming, like, the last couple months. She's been trying to get me fired, and I could tell. And it's just been escalating. Like she'd say, I didn't fill a bin all the way. Okay, it says like with the parts. We were just supply, so we would just take parts off out of the warehouse and then bring them over to where they needed to go in the manufacturing, and real easy work, and scan it on the computer, once we scanned it in, and so she said I didn't, well, there's a couple times now I've seen that you've haven't filled the bins all the way, and I verified and the parts were there, so you really need to watch your numbers. And I said, first of all, I don't even know what you're talking about. Do I get a chance to defend myself? Or are you just, making this up? Because you have to provide evidence of what you're saying. And she didn't have any evidence. This is just completely like made up stuff. She'd like print something out and say something from like 2 weeks ago. Like as if I'm going to remember the exact thing she's talking about from like 2 weeks ago. And then I don't even get a chance to defend myself or anything. And then the one time, so then I had a witness where there was like so then I realized she was after me. So then I had one girl that's pretty cool there, basically as a witness, when one time we couldn't fill the bin all the way because the bin couldn't hold the whole amount. So then we just had to adjust the bin amount. And that's what you have to do sometimes, or if the inventory is not there, you have to adjust the amount. So there was two different reasons why I wouldn't have filled the quantity. There's sometimes the inventory is not there, and sometimes the bin is not big enough to hold the quantity asked for. And so those were two different things, and I was explaining that to her one time, and Nicole was a witness to a couple of the different times when I had to do this and say, hey, look, this is Anna's got on my case about this, and this is, clearly the inventory is not here, so I can't fill it. And then other times the bin is too small, so I can't fill it. So you as my witness here, in case this happens again, I just want to let you know so you can see what's going on. And she said, okay, no big deal. She didn't think it was a big deal, and I didn't think it was a big deal. But sure enough, so the last, and then, okay, so then also what happened is the last discussion, I did bring in my VA letter. And I said, well, I am a disabled veteran, and, I can only do so much. I have my VA paperwork that I am an 80% disabled veteran. I have a hip injury, and I have PTSD, and a rocket came in. They're so completely disrespectful to veterans. I just want to, it's not okay. It's not okay. And these people need to get in trouble that have done this. And believe me, there's a lot of things that's going to start happening. And the last conversation was that I brought in my paperwork. And I said, okay, so let me know if you need anything else, because clearly you could see I wasn't lying. Here's my paperwork. And then they said, okay, well, we'll discuss what to do from here. And that was the last conversation I had with them about this. And and then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, yesterday they brought me in there and said, okay, well, we just decided, we're going to terminate your employment, and I said, okay, well, the last discussion we had was that I brought my paperwork in, and if you had an issue with my production, that we would discuss it, because I can't do what maybe somebody else could do because of my disability. And that was the last discussion we had. And so I don't know where this is coming from, but it is illegal, because so this had happened to me. This is I had the same kind of thing happen to me in multiple companies here. 3 years ago, before I got hired at this place, with that member, when I just brought it up the last video, it was with Atlas Staffing. And I was, they would send me out to different places, and I'd work a week or two, and then they would just call me and say, well, the company's just decided to not have you come back, and just for no reason at all. And I've lived here I grew up here in Minnesota, and Minnesota's always been you could always find a job. I never was without a job. I could pick up, it's a super good economy here. And so this was something very new that me not without a job is not because I'm such a good worker. I'm just I'm just of the old school, where have a very good work ethic. And I've always been told that, and I know that. And I know that there was no valid reason for it. But what happened in 2012 is that they passed this law in Minnesota called a at-will workplace, work state. And that was under Obama. And because prior to that, it used to be totally normal. You can't just fire somebody for no reason. You have to have 3 written statements, 3 write-ups, 2 warnings, and a final. That didn't happen. None of that happens anymore. That it's called, and so it says, now it's an at-will state. So they have the at-will. They can decide if they want to hire you. They can decide if they want to fire you. And I was like, there's no way that can be a legitimate law, and that they can't just have any reason to fire you for no reason. And so this kept happening to me in these temp jobs, and then I finally went over to the Department of Labor and had a discussion with somebody about that, and they said no, even though it's an at-will state, they still need a legal, valid, written reason why they are letting you go. It can't just be something illegal. And what they did to me there was illegal, because there was no reason at all. There was no valid reason. They were complete lies. And And I even, was going to have my witness come in to her to validate her lies, and they wouldn't even let me bring a witness in. So that clearly tells you that they were the ones up to no good. And these companies need to be held accountable, because the veterans are out of work. Are out of work, and now a Mexican and some, who knows if they're even legals, that have my job now. Okay, so I was discriminated against over Mexicans. Okay, so that's what happened to me there, and yeah, and I also was treated like this by Fleet Farm here. Fleet Farm hired. I told this story. They hired me, and then this was like over COVID, and then they wouldn't send me a paycheck, and they kept asking if I had gotten the shot, even though I asked them, if it was required in the beginning, and then they said no, but then they kept asking me if I had gotten the shot, and I said, well, what does it matter? You didn't mandate it, and I'm wearing a mask, but then they wouldn't pay me a paycheck. I mean, they wouldn't pay me, and then they kept saying, HR is working out of home, and she'd never get back to me, and a lot of the HR works out of home now, and that's like they hide behind, and you can't get a hold of them, and and they do dirty things to people, and then they're hiding at home because they know they're doing dirty things. A lot of the HR people have been very, very bad to me, and at Fleet Farm and there, this last place, Wagner. So this is not okay, what's happening, and I'm going to get into some more about several different things here, to do some of it today and then some of it later, but basically, so the so this type of thing started happening, if you don't know, to veterans when it started getting the worst. Our treatment started getting the worst was right after 2011, after 9/11, when the Patriot Act was signed. Okay, so if you don't know this, this is basically when things started changing, and we started getting targeted, and things started changing in the military. What happened is, let's see, I was going to explain. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so it was so right after 9/11, when the planes hit the Twin Towers in New York, they, whatever happened there. Okay, and President Bush enacted something called a USA Patriot Act. Okay, and this was stated that it was a law required to intercept and obstruct terrorism. It was supposed to be designed to strengthen national security. It included three main provisions. Okay, this is when all of our illegal surveillance started, massive surveillance. And what they did is they used this is when law enforcement started getting complete warrants to be able to tap phones domestically and internationally, and this is when all of our phone calls have been started to being tapped. So since 2001, if you didn't know, the FBI and the federal government have been able to tap anybody's phone without a warrant of any kind, and because of this act right here, with no permission and no warrant, anybody can just tap your phone in the government, FBI, or it's based on this Patriot Act. Okay, they don't have to have a reason; they can just do it now, because they can just say, "Oh, they thought you were associated with a terrorist." Okay, and this is a bunch of BS, because this is uh, they're not using it to search for terrorists. They're using it against their own people. So what happened is that we found out that this is not at all what they were using it for. So there was they were not looking for terrorists, because there was a whistleblower that exposed this, that worked for Homeland Security, that tried exposing this, that said, I work here, and we are trying to expose real terrorists. Like, we could have prevented this San Bernardino shooting, but they wouldn't let us turn it in. And in fact, we're noticing that they're using it against their own people instead of against the terrorist. Okay, so he tried exposing Homeland Security. His name is Phil Haney, and exposed this whole Patriot Act and everything, and that they're using it against their own people, against their own veterans and whistleblowers, instead of the terrorist. And he died, and he got murdered. So his name is Phil Haney, and so this since 2001, instead of looking for the terrorists using this act has been turned against you, the American people, the patriots and the veterans and the whistleblowers. Okay, so who they have been after, they've been targeting the veterans since 2001, and the patriots, like the really patriotic, because they were trying to bring in the New World Order, an invasion of our country. Okay, they were planning this invasion that's happening in our country for many, many years, way prior to 2001. So this was the first part of the implementation of this. It was 2000, or one of the first, this has been going on for years. They've been trying to do this invasion. What we have now is an invasion. And this was one part of it in 2001. And, it was, and they also had another part of it where they could qualify. They had a list of activities that would qualify for terrorist charges, and then they could hold. It was really controversial because they could indefinitely detain somebody under this Patriot law without a trial. Okay, so they've done this to some people, and they've done this to some patriots and some whistleblowers. They've detained them without a trial. So they have used this law against their own people instead of terrorists. And this has been going on now, and so now this is escalating, and this is I don't think people realized how much. Well, we've a lot of us have heard of whistleblowers being murdered before, but they always try to make it look like an accident or something. But I can tell you, there's a whole list of whistleblowers that have died. Isaac Cappy, out of Hollywood, he was trying to expose some Hollywood people. There was a couple people in South Dakota that died, or whistleblowers trying to expose some different things, the corruption there. And that one guy that had the weather, Mike, something, and he was exposing like the weather, and he's like the California fire, like he could see that it was directed energy weapons that caused that fire or something, he was saying. And and he died. I think he got murdered, I'm pretty sure. And and so but anyway, so the problem is that this is really they were really targeting the veterans. And so it's not just so the police are definitely involved, because they got expanded surveillance to be able to. Okay, so this has caused since 2001. Since 2001, if you're not aware, there has been 30,177 veterans that have committed suicide. Okay, so this is you can see it here. I did the search. 30,177 between active duty personnel and veterans. Okay, since 2001. Okay, So I'm going to put that up. That was a search. Okay. So this is a problem. If you think that many veterans are really going to committing suicide just on their own, like, I mean, they're just because of depression or something, or because there's more going on. There's a lot more going on. They're being extremely targeted. They're being targeted, and then they're being fired everywhere, like I have been. So I've talked about this program, and it involves, it's called a targeted individual program, and there's a whole charts and everything that I have showed before. It involves DHS, CIA out of Denver. It involves this gang stalking. Then they try to isolate you. The CIA is involved, and the police are involved, and the FBI is involved. Okay, and they have been targeting the veterans. Okay, and then they make sure we get fired from jobs, and Shriver Air Force Base is involved. Okay, so this is a very serious situation going on here in our country, and something has to really be done here. Since I have more time here, I'm going to do more videos, and if people want to have comments and want me to talk about, if you have a veteran story, if you're a veteran or military, if you want me to tell your story, I want to hear more veteran stories or more targeted individual stories. I hear from a couple different women that see my channel that are targeted. One lady in Virginia is targeted like crazy, because that's near Langley, and she's targeted like crazy there, and she has people breaking into her home, her tires being slit. This is part of the program. They get paid. So we found out that they get these people that are targeting us get paid by Homeland Security, DHS. They're actually paid. So the cops are paid dirty money on the side. The cops have been paid dirty money on the side by Department of Homeland Security to target veterans, and they're murdering us. And they've murdered many veterans. So if you think that these Mason cops, if you have any kind of people that you know that are Mason cops, they've been involved in this program. They've been involved in the death of 30,177 veterans. So if you think these are good people, or maybe you don't know enough about them, think again. These are very dangerous people. Somebody that would do this to a veteran who's completely innocent and did nothing but just serve their country honorably, and just their only crime is just the patriotism to their country. But now all of a sudden we're a threat because we're patriots. This is not a normal person that thinks it's okay to be involved in a program like this. People you have to be a twisted person, a wicked person, evil person to think that this is okay in some way to target a veteran and be involved in their death. You're a pretty twisted mental case that needs to be. It's called treason, and you're going to get arrested, and you're going to be executed for treason. So good luck with that, because it's coming. Because we're not going to tolerate any of this, because the military is fully aware, and we got the statistics of how many veterans this program has murdered, and the Masons involved, and we are fully aware now of the agencies involved in this program as well, and and some of the companies that are just going along with it. And I mean, I'm not sure what's going through your head, what you think, how you think it's okay to be involved in the targeting and murder and harassment of a veteran, but you're completely out of your minds, and you're going to get in trouble. So I I have no idea what people are thinking nowadays, but we live in a fallen world, and I guess the morals are gone. But uh, anyway, so this is my video for today, and I wanted to just explain what happened. I didn't do anything wrong, and it's pretty. Can you imagine if you were at a job like 5 years or something or whatever, and just you go to work and they're like, oh well, we just decided we don't like you today, so we're gonna fire. I mean, that's basically what happened. So I mean, there's just no work stability. You can't. So nobody. What's the point in going to college if there's just a right to work law? Like where they could, you could go through this whole degree and spend all this money for a degree, but then if there's a law like this where they can still fire you for no reason, what's the point in going to college and getting that degree? Because then you could just have all the Democrats like they did, like they all came to our state and enacted these dumb Democrat laws that don't work. And what would be the point of any kid even bothering with a college degree if you have a law like this where if they don't like you they can just fire you? I mean, this is the dumbest law, and I think it's enacted in like 5 different states. I mean, it was implemented here in 2012, but I think it's several other states, but it's this never used to be like this. I mean, this is not even a legal law. There always used to be like laws like you need at least 3 write-ups. So this is pretty insane what's going on right now in our country. So, okay. Thank you.